Hi students, welcome to another session. Previously, we discussed the introduction to Unit 2, that is Methods of Psychology, and now we try to understand what are the goals of psychological enquiry. A goal, we know it is a target. It can be a short term or a long term. So, what is the point of goal we discuss here? So, it is about how we inquire, like understand the behavior, how we understand the behavior of the clients. Like any scientific research, psychological inquiry has the following goals. So that is, here it is description, prediction, explanation, control, and application. So there are five key points in the goals. That is, even you can say it is a step-by-step procedure to achieve these goals of particular psychological inquiry. So what he is saying is the description. Of course, we will see these things in detail uh, now. And these are the five: description, prediction, explanation, control of behavior, control of behavior, and application of knowledge so generated in an objective manner. So after receiving the knowledge, like what you can say, after the collection of data and analysis, you may get some results, right? So that should be applied in an objectified manner, that should be replicable to other similar conditions. So that's what, let's try to understand meaning of these terms, like all these five terms. Let us try to understand these things. Okay, and description. The first one is description. So in a psychological study, we attempt to describe a behavior or a phenomenon as accurately as possible. This helps in distinguishes a particular behavior from other behaviors. What he is saying is that if we are dealing with a client or a situation of particular psychological problem, we'll try to describe it, how he is behaving, what are the conditions, what are the symptoms, what are the his lifestyle, his history, and all these things we will be considering, right? So then, particularly in the psychological study, as we are dealing with this one, when there is a problem, such a negative behavior or unexpected behavior, we'll try to distinguish that particular behavior with the regular behavior. Even we can say it as a social standard behavior, which is acceptable for a group of people. Even earlier we discussed about the cultural psychology. In that cultural psychology, if we can see, even there is a difference between Eastern psychology and Western psychology, and even there is difference between behavior in Eastern side and Western side, right? Isn't it? Yes. There are cultural differences and the behavior change from place to place, like in South India and North India. And there is, if there is a particular behavior that is to be differentiated, and it should be described. For example, the researcher may be interested in observing study habits among students. This is an example, like how we can say study habits, yes, some may have listening to music, some may be reading loud, some may be reading like inward, some may be would like to read sitting in a park or a greenery place. Some may be, some even may not be feel not disturbance, even though there are a lot of people around. They will be in their own world and concentration. So it is like a study of study habits, and even like study habits may consist diverse range of behaviors such as attending all your classes regularly, submitting assignments on time, planning your study schedule, studying according to the set schedule, revising your work on a daily basis, etc. etc. I think definitely you will not be doing this, and most of the students will not be doing this. But the researcher, the researcher is the person, the researcher is the person, sorry, here. The researcher is the person who conducts this psychological inquiry. Okay, researcher is a person who conducts psychological inquiry. Okay, just remember this point. Who is the researcher? The person who conducts the psychological inquiry can be called as the researcher, and the procedure he carry out is the research. Okay, the procedure he conducts is the research. And what are the study habits he is studying? Like there are range of behaviors a student may behave, like attending the classes regularly, submitting the assignments on time, planning your study schedule, and set a schedule, revising work, and for preparing for exams, etc. So these are the things happening, and so next, within a particular category, there may be further minute descriptions. Like during the research, a step-by-step procedure has to be explained in the minute basis. Like as you have conducted a project earlier with the interviewing with the psychologist, we wrote a transcript like what you spoke with the interviewer, like the psychologist in that project. You'll be writing what he responded, what is the question you asked psychologist, and then how he responded. You will be writing them. Like in that way, the research also tries to, uh, when you observe something, when you research something, that has to be written. The researcher needs to describe his or her meaning of study habits. For example, if a student studies in the park, it is described as the student, these set of students who are likely to study in a green environment or peaceful environment. The other group of students will be studying in a like a noisy environment. Okay, the description requires recording of a particular behavior which helps in its proper understanding. Like as we said, the behavior of a student who studies in the nature, the behavior of a student who studies in between a group or a noisy environment, that has to be described properly. Okay, and this is what the description is. When you observe something, when you study something, when you research something, that has to be described. Okay, and the student is studying, that has to be described where he is studying, how it is happening. The all associated behavior has to be explained. And then the next one is prediction. So prediction, the second goal of the scientific inquiry is prediction of the behavior. Previously, you described the behavior. Now, after this description. You will have some conclusions or the draw points, right? With those points, you will be try to understand it, try to predict something. Let's see what it is. If you are able to understand and describe the behavior accurately, you come to know the relationship of a particular behavior with other types of behavior, events, or phenomena. If you can see, as we are discussing about the student studying in a park, you may relate it is like a peaceful environment. There will be lot of space. There will be different factors, environmental factors, gender factors, place of study, location, all these things will be playing some role. So that relation of particular behavior with other types of behavior, like studying, you can say memory is a process, learning is a process, learning is a behavior. If you can say, by studying in a natural places increases the memory retention, information retention. In such a way, you can relate this one. Next, you can then forecast that under certain conditions that this particular behavior may occur within certain margin of error. Like, even there can be uncontrollable things during particular, you can say, particular behavior. When you are in a park, there will be a lot of people moving around you. You may have some distractions, right? So, in such a way, and even you may, when it rains, you cannot control that environment. Like when it is so sunny, the temperatures are high, you may not control that. So, these conditions may disturb or affect the behavior which we are studying. You are getting the difference, right? So you are able to understand? Yes. For example, let's see an example. For example, on the basis of study, a researcher is able to establish a positive relationship between the amount of study time and achievement in different subjects. So if it is like as we can understand the study in park or the natural environment, the time you spent like 1 hour studying in natural environment, you may relate it to like the prediction. Due to this behavior, I got this achievement. The marks in maths has improved a lot because of this one. The marks in maths has dipped down due to this behavior. We can predict some results by what you can say relationship. You can make it as a correlation of two variables, factors, two behaviors. Okay. Later, if you come to know that a particular child devotes more times to study, you can predict that the child is likely to get good marks in the examination. Prediction becomes more accurate with the increase of the number of persons observed. Like this is what the prediction is. Okay, so we have taken the study habits as the behavior we want to observe in different conditions. We will be relating with the marks or the results. So the more he spent for the study, a student, the more he practice and the more he get the result, right? Without spending some time, you may not get the result, right? So that's what he's saying. And when does this accuracy increases? When does this observation gives a, like if you can see, the more amount of practice you put it into, it will give you the finest results, right? You may in the errors, or the more amount of practice, the more marks you get, that is less errors. like you will not commit mistakes in such a way. The observer, the researcher also, when you have large amount of data in the research, you may get the desired results. The error rate can be very less and the research can be applied to many more people. Like even see, during the COVID, now the trials, vaccine trials, they will be increasing. It is a step-by-step process. The more trials has tried, then the results are also, when the amount of results also increase, the error rate decreases and the positive results can be replicable to the objectifiable to the common people. Okay, this is what the description is. And prediction. Prediction comes with relationship between the particular behaviors. Okay, this is the important point one. Next to that, description and prediction is explanation. Explanation, the third goal of the psychological inquiry is to know the causal factors or determinants of the behavior. Like you can say, these are the affecting variables, like extraneous variables. We will be discussing them in later. So there are, that is what I said. There may be some conditions. Let us see here. Psychologists are primarily interested in knowing the factors that make behavior occur, like needs. When you are thirsty, you drink water, right? There is some need. When you feel hungry, you will be eating food. It is a behavior. Also, what are the conditions under which a particular behavior does not occur? When there is a hunger, when there is an anger, there is a behavior. And there is another thing you can say, when there is a particular happening, it is when there is no behavior, there is also some factors involved in it. Like if you can say, if you are staying silent during meditation or during a serious class, what is the factor making you to concentrate there? It is attention to silence, right? So in that one, for example, what makes some children more attentive in the class, as we discussed? Why some children devote less time for study as compared to others? We discussed these points. Some people like genius, photographic memory, they will be reciting quickly as and when uh, the teacher explains the subject, they will be performing really. What are all the factors? What are the factors affecting the intelligence of the child? Thus, the goal is concerned with identifying determinant or antecedent condition. What made this behavior? That is the conditions that led to the particular behavior. Like you can say, when a particular child is intelligent, how he become intelligent? What are all determinants? What are all the factors affected for this type of behavior? They will try to study this. Of the behavior being studied, so that the cause and effect relationship between two variables, that is objects or events, could be established. As we said, what is this explanation? In the explanation, first one is description. You are describing a behavior. Next, after description of the behavior, you will have some predictions, that is relationship between two objects. And then the explanation, it can be easy only when the conditions are properly understood. Okay, the explanation is possible, and particularly identifying the factors. What are the causes and effects? How it happened? All these conditions will be dealt in explanation of the behavior. Is the explanation of psychological study or enquiry. Next to that one is control. Is control. If you are able to explain why a particular behavior occurs, you can control that behavior by making changes in its antecedent conditions. Even you can control the factors, right? When, if we can take an example, like in a park, for a shade, you may stand under a tree. You may sit under a tree because there is a sun, there is a hot climate. For a shadow, you may reach a tree. Control refers to three things, making a particular behavior happen, reducing it, enhancing it. Control refers to three things, making a particular behavior happen, reducing it, and enhancing it. So what are three conditions here? There is a behavior which is existing. You started the behavior and you're controlling the behavior, like reducing and enhancing it. Okay, you are getting the point. You are controlling the behavior, whether to study for the long hours or to study less hours, or there is no study at all. To study to observe the study habits, there has to be some study. You can reduce the amount of study or you can increase the amount of study, like the amount of time. All these things you can control, right? For example, you can allow the number of hours devoted to study to be the same, or you can reduce them. There may be an increase in the study hours. That's what I said. And the change brought about in the behavior by psychological treatment in terms of therapy in persons is a good examples of control. If you can see, when there is a therapy, you will try to reduce the like anxiety, depression, all these things, the psychological programs. How a behavior can be controlled? By reducing, by enhancing, making a particular behavior happen. This is a new pattern of behavior, like reducing the previous antecedent conditions, enhancing it, like enhancing the conditions, like improving the conditions. All these things will be a good example of control. So far, we discussed about the description and prediction, explanation, and control. These are all the steps involved in the goal to psychological inquiry. Next to it is application. Next to it is application. This is the final one. So applying, so replication, objectifying them, the results. The final goal of the scientific inquiry is to bring out the positive changes in the lives of people. Yes, the ultimate goal is to help the people, right? Yes. The psychological research is conducted to solve problems in various settings. Like as I said in the example, like study habits, the study habits, after getting some overview of study habits, you may tell to the public that these study habits will improve marks in this one. There are scientific studies, and a clinical trial of vaccine will give you, like, this vaccine is really working and you may use it to public. That is what application of the vaccine, application of the study habits. Okay, because of these efforts, the quality of people, of life of people, is a major concern of psychologists. Particularly as a human behavior, the human should be safe and secure, and then happier persons, right? For that, what are all can be done will be as a goal and a step-by-step approach, and the application part. What what is this one? To improve the life conditions, to improve the behavior of people for the happiness of them. For example, applications of yoga meditation helps to reduce stress, increase efficiency. during this particular study, when you meditate before you study, your mind will be peaceful and you may retain information in the brain for a more longer time. If you do exercise, the health improves. These are all examples. Scientific inquiry also is also conducted to develop new theories of constructs, which leads to further research. So during what are all he is saying? Description, prediction, explanation, control, and application. These are the 5 steps of the goals of inquiry. And next we will be seeing the steps in conducting, like what are the methods. We will be seeing them. There will be like words which are like interchangeably used, but the goals has 5 steps. What are all? Which we have seen, that is description, prediction, explanation, control of behavior, and application of the knowledge. These are the 5 steps. So far, we have given the example of study habits and controlling the behavior. We can see like reducing and enhancing the behavior or exhibiting the behavior, and even that application part we have seen that yoga and meditation, the medication, even you can call medication, can also help us control the behavior or understand the behavior. These are all the 5 steps which are involved in the goals of psychological inquiry. So that's how we end this one, and then in detail we will see the other any other related information you may contact, and that's how we will end this session. Okay, let's if you have any queries, please write to particular mail id or the institutional mail id you may contact for the queries. So that's how I end this session. Thank you so much.